Coming to you live around the world from NOV's Studio 202. This is Inside Out Horizons. With your hosts, Lydia Mabry, Jeremy Griswold, Cass Casey, and Shelby Dumaine. Now, let's start the show.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us on Inside Out. I'm Lydia Brantley, and today we're talking with Mark Lapeyrouse, the president of NOV Wellsite Services. We're going to talk a little bit about business, and we're also going to talk about leadership and his evolution in his role and what he's done. So, Mark, thanks for joining me.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm really excited to have you here. So first, kind of just to get us started, NOV Wellsite Services, for the uninitiated, what is that business that you lead?
Well, Wellsite Services is originally, the original business of Wellsite Services was the Brandt Company. So NOV Brandt with solids control and waste management products and services is how we started. And we grew that business to a size that we were comfortable with. We just weren't comfortable with not being bigger.
Okay.
And so, because of that, we began to look at adjacencies that made sense for the core competency of the management team of Brandt. And because of that, we took, we did quite a few acquisitions to grow Brandt. And then, because we took time to look at adjacencies and other areas of growth, we found that, the portable power business made sense, a business we could manage and execute, and that we've done a nice job with over the years. We were in the drilling fluids business for some time, actually still in the drilling fluids business in very small parts of Latin America, an adjacency that makes sense because Brandt works so closely, and we have a keen understanding of the drilling fluids business. We moved into site services, a lot of water management.
Okay.
Lots of folks don't realize that there's a lot more water being coming up out of the ground than oil in many parts of the world, and so produced water is becoming a pretty big concern for the industry. And so we do that, and we do lots of water treatment, water clarification, water reinjection,
Okay.
and things like that. But these are all just different businesses. And what we found after we began to move into some of these other businesses, that NOV Brandt name didn't kind of work for some of the other things we did. And so we actually hired a marketing firm. They came in, they helped us, and we narrowed down the name of our new business unit to either Wellbore Technologies or Wellsite Services.
Oh, okay.
We chose Wellsite Services, and as you know, Wellbore Technologies later became the segment name for our new segment when we set up.
Okay.
So that's how we...
Well, that's interesting that you bring it up to a couple of things. One, Brandt, like the strength of the brand name. So that'd be something interesting to talk about, of just how you build a brand that's recognized. But then also, too, I guess, thinking on solids control and waste management and kind of core traditional business, where I've always thought when you go in that space, NOV, that's it. That, we're the leader there. But dealing with water and other things, it's kind of similar to drill cuttings coming out of the wellbore, then treating, recycling for reuse, or treating for disposal. Is that kind of how I should think about the adjacencies with something like water?
Yeah, and a lot of it. With portable power, is more the mechanical aspect of who we are and what we do, and we knew that we could do that. And we also know that because with Brandt in the services side of the business, we live on the drilling rigs and work with the customers. We knew where that power made sense, and we knew what the needs were.
Okay.
And so that made sense for us, probably more from a standpoint of our mechanical ability and our field services knowledge. On the produced water, on cuttings, injection, things like that, you're exactly right. With Brandt, our goal with Brandt is to minimize the creation of waste.
Okay.
So what we're looking to do is, when a well is being drilled or produced water is coming out of the ground or whatever it is, minimize the waste creation. So if we can keep the amount of waste created in a nice contained manner, then there are lots of things we can do. We can do on-site disposal, we can re-inject, we have thermal desorption, so we
Right.
can thermally treat the cuttings for land spreading or reuse, or a lot of times it's used to put cap on top of a landfill, because you need to cover that stuff. And so for us, on land, on offshore, on every remote corner of the world,
Right.
it's where we go, and it's what we're good at, is just minimizing the creation of waste.
Okay. No, I like that as kind of a core focus area and a way to think about it, especially because you all work in some crazy places.
We do. We have a thermal unit that will be leaving Denmark it better leave by the end of this month. And it's heading to Uganda.
Okay.
And we'll be working with a large project for Total. And we should be out there anywhere from 5 to 7 years. And it's our first thermal unit. We expect that we'll have 1 or 2 more in that during this period. We have another thermal unit that hopefully we'll be working on the installation in Q4, maybe early Q1 in Bangladesh.
Okay.
And this is for a very large customer that we do lots of work for. We have a large thermal facility partner that we work with. We have 8 or 9 thermal units in Luanda, Angola. We have thermal units in Bolivia. We have thermal units around the world. We have our own thermal processing facility in Aberdeen, Scotland, to manage the North Sea.
Right.
We have a brand new technology. We call it a Novatherm. It's an offshore. It's a unit primarily for offshore operations. It fits all the regulations and requirements for it to be offshore there. It processes better than anything else out there. We're really happy to be a partner with the manufacturer on that. So, those are all things that we do, and we're in Argentina and other parts of the world.
Right.
I can name a number of countries that are very hard to work in.
Yes.
And what we've learned over the years are the countries that are very hard to work in. If you can figure it out, you don't have a lot of competition.
That's good.
You can get in there, you can do your job, you take care of the customer, you're good at it. You know how to parachute in and get the job done.
Right.
And when others can't do that, it gives you a nice advantage.
And success there probably relies on a lot more than just the technology. It's the know-how, it's the people, it's the delivery.
NOV has a saying, and I love this saying, is you can copy our technology, you can copy or maybe take some of our people, but you can't ever have our DNA. Mm-hmm. And that DNA exists in NOV, that DNA exists in Wellsite Services. It's just who we are.
Right.
For so many years.
Yeah. No, it speaks a lot. I mean, it's a testament to the business. I think how well known you are in certain areas, and also the fact that you're always looking to evolve of how do you grow and expand the business beyond its core. So thinking about that, I know recently we talked about managed pressure drilling, which is a phrase I've heard a lot, and I'm going to admit that I don't know enough about. So kind of just wanted to ask you about what is managed pressure drilling and what is it that we're doing in the space? And how it fits.
Well, managing wellbore pressures have been around for a long time, and we actually did that, and you do that in the drilling fluids business.
Correct. It's like the first line of defense for wellbore control, and the BOP is second.
That's right. Your BOP is actually your pressure control.
Or your blowout preventer.
Yeah, that's right. Your blowout preventers are your pressure control equipment, and that's the job. That's its job. That's what it does, and that's what you rely on. With managed pressure drilling, it's not a pressure control device. It's pressure management. Okay. And it's it would be similar to what we would say with drilling fluids. With drilling fluids, you manage your pressures with density and then viscosity. Viscosity is to help clean the wellbore, and the density of the fluid is to manage the wellbore inflows and outflows and things like that. And what managed pressure drilling does, it's a mechanical device with digital technology that manages the wellbore pressures real time from the bottom hole to the surface, so that we know on a moment's notice that there's been a change in the wellbore at some point or in some place, and we can make adjustments either manually through automation or optimization a software technology.
And you're making adjustments of the device, or you're making adjustments to the drilling fluid?
Well, you're making adjustments. You're making adjustments to the device that makes adjustments to the well bore, to the pressure on the well bore.
Okay, okay.
Because what happens is, as you're drilling a well, you're going through a number of different formations, and some of these formations are formations that 50 years ago had oil
Right.
or gas in them. Well, they don't anymore, and so they're very porous and they're unconsolidated, and when you get to those formations, you can begin losing drilling fluids and losing
Because
into
they're
the
just
formation.
seeping out into the formation.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Like
what we do is we can manage the wellbore pressures so that we can minimize the mud loss as we drill through those formations. You have other formations that are applying a little bit more pressure onto the wellbore than you would like.
Okay.
And so and once we understand and we know that, then we can adjust the wellbore pressures. Likewise. So it's a more modern way of doing what's been done a long time. It doesn't mean that drilling fluids are going away, that, density is an important part of a drilling fluid. This is basically we're optimizing the wellbore integrity.
Okay.
And we do that in a number of different ways. But we love managed pressure drilling. We've been around it for a long time. I don't know how many people know this. Our CEO is an ex-drilling engineer for Shell. He's really smart. He's drilled well, so he understands it. He and I had conversations about this 20 years ago.
Really?
When they were beginning doing some early stuff in the Haynesville. And here in the U.S. and in North Louisiana, and so it's something we've known about, and Clay certainly knows quite well. It's a business that we've been in, and we've done okay with. We got to the point with the AF Global acquisition,
Right.
And I think what we want to talk about a little bit. We were okay at what we did. We just weren't where we wanted to be with it. We wanted to be able to take care of our land customers. We wanted to be able to take care of our shallow water jackup customers, and we certainly wanted to take care of our deep water customers. As everyone knows, that's NOV's sweet spot. I mean,
Right.
our kit's on all these rigs, and we felt like we needed to be able to provide this service, and AF Global gave us all of that. It was such a great acquisition for us. We knew that it made sense for us. It had all the right people. It had all of the right technologies, north of 350 patents and 20 different patent
Okay.
families.
That's a lot.
They have leading technology in deep water. I think we're on eight or nine deep water rigs right now. We have a lot more that's probably going to take place here before long. They're a manufacturer. We had a rental and service business combined. We're vertically integrated. We can take care of the customer, especially now. Especially with a lot of our drilling, probably our drilling contractor customers. You can take a jackup rig, for example. They're a drilling contractor customer is bidding a job, and that job requires managed pressure drilling. Depending on his cash flow at the time and his CapEx ability to spend money on CapEx, we can offer a complete capital sale of the RCD, which is the rotating control device, the complete manifold system, the controls, the automation, optimization at whatever level they would like it to be. And we can do that as a sale. We'll sell it. We'll do the install. We'll train all of their people. We keep people out there for as long as they need us out there. We can do all of that. If there's a bit of a capital constraint, then maybe what the customer would decide to do would be to buy the RCD, the rotating control device that sits above the stack, maybe buy the manifold system and own that piece. But maybe they don't buy the control system because they give the operator the opportunity to choose the company they want to handle the controls and the control system. So maybe they buy a part of it and rent the rest, or allow the operator to rent the rest. Maybe they buy none of it. What we want to do is we just want to be there for the customer. So if it's a rental, we're here for you. We can do that. If it's a cap sale, we manufacture all our own stuff. We're NOV.
Right.
It comes with all the support and everything else you've always gotten with NOV. If it's a jackup rig, it's probably an Amphion system. Well, that's NOV. The look and feel, the visualization is going to be the same. The folks that'll be out there helping with the install, they understand it. It lends itself to all the right things. And with MPD becoming such a major addition to the drilling process, it only makes sense that NOV is a part of that.
Right. Well, how many people are really using managed pressure drilling? Like, is this prevalent across all applications, or is it fairly niche?
Well, I would say that everyone should.
Oh, okay.
I think it's not a new technology, but it's a technology that is certainly caught on.
Right. The appeal is growing.
Absolutely, and technology is growing with it. There's a lot of MPD is a mechanical. It's mechanics. It's equipment, and there's a mechanical component to it, a large mechanical component. What we've done with NOV, and others have too, but what's happening is with digital technology, the software side of things are catching up, and the ability to learn so much more about the well construction process and the different stages and the different formations and how much better we can manage that, not only for a safer hole
Right.
being drilled, a much cleaner and straighter hole being drilled. And then of course you can drill the best hole in the world, but if it doesn't produce, it's not going to be the best hole.
No, it's not worth much.
That's exactly. And with managed pressure drilling, when we talk about density and viscosity and drilling fluids, those are commercial solids. So you've got your
Okay.
drill solids that you've drilled.
Right.
Then you've got additional commercial solids in there. So there are quite a bit of solids in the drilling fluids as it comes up. And so if we can also minimize and enhance a little bit of the formations or the recipes for the drilling fluids because we're using managed pressure drilling, we reduce a little bit of the drill solids or the overall total solids in the drilling fluids. And if we drill a nice cleaner hole, we generate less solids. And so we're just, when everything's said and done, we drilled a safer, cleaner, better hole.
Well, and it goes back to, I think, what you said earlier of it minimized waste creation too.
And minimize waste creation. That's what it's about. We
Okay.
were ESG when ESG wasn't cool.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So Wellsite Services, actually, it seems like the things that you do, it's particularly relevant given everyone's focus on sustainability these days in terms of minimizing the waste creation, minimizing the presence, I guess, of a rig site after it leaves a location. Kind of fits right in your wheelhouse.
It does, and we're passionate about it. I've done this all of my life. I was, I've been here a long time, and I've been on drilling sites as a service engineer. When there's a big, large acreage earthen pit that all of the waste went into and was minimized and cleaned up at the end. We probably would never do that
Right.
today, and not that we did anything wrong back then. We're just smarter and better.
Well,
at
you
it
learn
today.
more, right?
We're educated, but because of that, and because we spent so many years in this industry, we're very passionate about the minimization of waste creation. The maintaining the land and the earth and making sure leave it like you were never there.
Right.
That's what we say. We get out there, we'll cut a path in a forest or in a wherever we are, and we'll build a location, we'll put a rig out there, we'll drill a well, a number of wells. When we're done, we actually can have all of the wells now with our Cellertech line. We can
Okay.
we can put all of the well heads that are drilled below the Earth's surface, so you actually don't see anything.
Interesting.
And we can cover it, and we can pull up the location at the end, remediate the property, plant grass, plant trees, do whatever we want, and those wells are producing. They're generating.
They're providing access to energy.
Access to energy. That's exactly right. In a nice, smooth, clean way, and the forest is back.
Right.
And you leave it like you were never there.
Yep.
And we've done that for a long time. I'll say this, and we've worked for every major international oil company in the world. We work for almost all of the NOCs. We work for lots of large independents, small independents, and regardless of what folks think, our industry cares.
I agree.
They all care. We sit and we have intimate conversations about what we can do to minimize waste creation on a location, and they care about it as much or more than we do.
Right.
As they do with safety. So I'm proud of our industry and the job that it's done. I'm proud of where we've come from, and I'm proud of where we're heading. And I think it's important for a lot of folks to know that we've always cared about reducing the number of trucks on the road, for safety.
Right.
Reducing the number of offshore workboats that are going back and forth to drilling rigs by having an overtherm.
Oh, correct.
waste
By
disposal.
treating
Yes.
drill cuttings out there.
Absolutely, because when you do that, if you're treating cuttings out there where you don't have skips anymore, so you don't have all these crane lifts and all this other stuff that's
Right.
that can be unsafe and burns lots of energy. You don't have so many boats going back and forth to bring all of this waste to land to then be disposed of.
Right.
So when you look at an Novotherm, you look at what we do on land for on-site disposal and things like that, and you look at managed pressure drilling that does such a great job of minimizing waste creation in a safe and methodical manner. I like what we do at Wellsite Services, and I'm really appreciative that the industry wants and respects that.
Right. No, and I feel like you and everyone who works there should be proud of the impact that you're having.
We are.
So, well, talking about kind of how the business has changed. How many years have you been working in Wellsite Services now? Not to date you.
Okay, well, you're dating me. I
Because you grew up here.
I did. I grew up here. I really did. I just celebrated 40 years in June.
Congratulations.
So thank you. 40 years with the company.
And what was your first like big role within Wellsite Services? And I guess at the time, what was it? It was called Brant when you were.
Actually, it was called the Brant Company.
Okay.
I actually worked for an agent, so I have actually a year and a half prior that is not counted in my
Okay,
40
we'll
years.
put an
By the
asterisk
way,
on that. 41 and a half.
NOV, that's right. But it was really just solids control business, shakers and centrifuges and things like desanders, desilters, just
The core of the core.
the early pieces that separated drilled cuttings from drilling fluids so that the drilling fluids could be reused. And my job was to tear that stuff apart, fix all the problems, put it back together, get it on a truck, get it loaded out, send it to the customer. My
Okay.
first job was actually to get with a pressure washer to clean it.
All
You know,
right.
and I was promoted.
Someone
from
has to do it. Oh, you got a promotion.
I was promoted from
I'm
the-
glad you did.
I was promoted from the wash rack, and the reason I was promoted from the wash rack is because I had very nice penmanship, and on all of the drilling, all the delivery tickets would come in at the end of every week, and someone had to fill everything out because back then service guys never filled anything out.
Right.
And
And yours were legible?
yeah, and on Friday afternoons I went in the office. It was air conditioning. I'd fill out all the delivery tickets, but I got to know folks, and it helped me a little bit. So it promoted me off the wash rack to the mechanical side of things.
I like that. I mean, it's doing the little things I feel like that make a
Yeah,
difference. And
that's right.
also like the sense of duty of that might not be my job, but I can help.
Yeah, it was air conditioned.
Yeah.
That was a big deal.
I could imagine. So what was your first management role within the business?
Yeah, my first management role, I became a manager in February of 1983. I became the district manager of the Houma district, Houma,
Okay.
Louisiana district.
What was that like?
It was we'd been through hard times. 1982 was a huge downturn in the industry. Prior to that, I was a service manager. We had about 100 service technicians. We serviced the eastern U.S. offshore market. We had and the Mississippi land market and Alabama land market. So we had a fairly large operation. We're pretty big, like I said, 100 service technicians. By the time I accepted the role as a district manager of the Houma district in February of 1983, there were 6 of us.
100 to 6.
106.
Wow.
And so, a lot of things had changed. We had to wear lots of hats.
How was morale?
We were happy to have a job.
Okay.
It was a really tough time for the industry. I grew up in a town that survived on oil and gas and fishing for the
Okay.
most part. And so it was hard for folks. And Southeast Louisiana being very non-transient, if you will.
Right.
Folks didn't leave. So it was just tough times. We did okay. We made money. Had a lot to learn. I was a young man. I grew up in a blue-collar family. I had a lot of things to learn about being a manager. The customer-facing side of things took a little bit of effort for me
Right.
to really understand how to sit in front of a customer and explain who we are and what we do and what we can do for them.
Well, it's a totally different role. In terms of pitching your capabilities, speaking eloquently and directly, and probably even in sound bites, and then just being familiar with a customer base, a type of person within the customer who you might not have previously seen in your other roles.
Yeah, that really. Well, the first thing the first part was kind of like this this live show is getting the first words out of your mouth.
Right.
You know, because you
Takes
don't
time.
do that and you don't have that sort of experience, and you're not sure what a customer really is face to face, and what their expectation is. And so you go in with the sales guy because you know more about the business than he does, and your job is to explain that. And over time, what you realize is all they want to know is they want to know what you have, what you do, how you can make their well better.
Right.
And they want to know that they're speaking to someone that understands that, and can speak intelligently and explain all the good things and maybe some of the pitfalls that can be there too, and the things we have to watch for. And so in a short period of time, I realized that all they wanted was my knowledge.
Right.
They didn't need me to do much else. I had we had a sales guy in there to do all the other stuff. You know, I didn't have to start off with the joke of the day or any of that stuff. They just needed.
You didn't have to be that guy,
I
or
didn't have to
somebody
be that
who you aren't normally.
No, well, probably a little bit now. You know, I'm probably a bit more confident in my
Right.
in my sales ability. But yeah, so once I realized my role, it was easy and I enjoyed it, and we won.
Right.
You know, we walked out with the job. That's a
That
big
makes it
deal.
feel good.
You know, when you start walking out with a job and it's because they believed you, and you walked out with the second job because you did everything you said on the first one, that's a really good feeling.
Yeah.
And that's how we do it today.
I like that. I mean, on some level too, advice I've been given before is like, you don't have to be the smartest person in the room. You don't have to be the prettiest person in the room. You just have to be curious and kind. And on some level, it's very similar of, you just have to be curious. You have to show a level of understanding. You have to be knowledgeable, honest, and then do what you say you're going to do. And
exactly
people will
right.
appreciate that.
You're exactly right. That's exactly right.
So,
Great advice.
yes, I like that. Well, speaking of good advice, in your career, I'm sure you've been exposed to lots of different personalities and mentors. What are some good lessons that others have imparted on you that are worth sharing with the audience?
Boy, there are so many. I just worked for so many great people over the years, and I was so lucky to have, the right folks at the right time come into, whether it was Brandt or we were Drexel or Tuboscope or Varco or NOV.
Right. And that's a lot of different cultures too, which also colors probably the experience.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, it is. And I was just really lucky that smart folks walked in when I needed smart folks around me. And you know,
Like that.
my early years, as the first 10 years or so of management, I was lucky that I moved up pretty well with responsibility and different things and doing things I'd never done before. But I was always nervous. You know, I don't.
It can be scary to be in
Yeah,
that type of role.
I don't know that I ever had a night in that first 10 years or so that I just slept well. I was always worried about being good enough or doing things right or
Right.
everything else. And the industry was, it was nip tuck. So you couldn't make lots of mistakes and keep your job. And so I was probably a bit more quiet and cautious and focused more on learning from others.
Okay.
And watching and learning from others. Then you get to that next stage where you become a bit more confident, which can also, you have to be careful because it can also mean cocky.
Right.
And think you're a little more than you are. And I've probably had a little bit of that in my life too. But around that time is when really strong senior managers, I was surrounded by really strong senior managers that gave me enough rope to be good at what I do and could tug on that rope a little bit.
Right.
When I needed to be put back in my place. And, and I think that was great. I was given lots of advice that I don't use as much as I should, but
it's invaluable to be around people like that who
exactly
care
right.
about you, who want to see you succeed, who, to your point, they'll give you enough space to experiment and fail, but probably protect you before you fall too hard.
Absolutely. Always so lucky in that. John Loretta, Joe Winkler came in the early 90s. They were Baker, so they had lots of structure, that the private equity that owned us at the time wanted.
Right.
They were great for me. They gave me lots of education. Clay came in from the private equity after the reverse buy from Drexel to Tuboscope. What I learned from Clay is just work hard.
Right.
Just work hard. You have a job to do your job. Don't stop till you're done. I learned a lot from him. We did lots of acquisitions together. He did lots of acquisitions for everyone. I was lucky enough to do a number of them with him.
Right.
It's
It's an important way to grow the business.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. And so, yeah, I had lots of good. Haynes Smith, great guy. My segment president now, Isaac Joseph, can't say enough about him. And how proud I am of him, first off, for stepping into that role and doing such a great job. And, and just for that relationship he and I have.
Right.
So.
No, I like that. Well, as business unit presidents, you all have an interesting role of, you're kind of the CEO of your own little business. And I was telling you earlier I heard one CEO talk about what he thought his three key responsibilities were. And he said that as the CEO, he cared about talent management, capital deployment, and risk management. And that his job was identifying and developing others and supporting their success. And so I was curious what you think about that and what you look at as your focus in your role as the president of the group.
Well, he's a very smart man. Yeah, one of the hardest, and I couldn't agree more with those comments. One of the hardest things we do is we kind of work the ladder, work up the ladder to the roles that we're in. Taking on the new responsibilities, I think for most folks, because we're aggressive and we have big egos and everything else, that's probably why we're here. But it's letting go of the things that other people need to be doing.
That's huge.
And not micromanaging every little thing because they don't do it exactly the way you did. Now, I'm saying that, and I'm not saying I necessarily don't do that because some of it's just passion and you will. But you have to, you recruit, you train, you model, and you bring in all the right folks that can do all the right things, like my mentors did with me, and then let them do their job and just, be there to catch them if they fall, but mostly just let them do their job. And the other thing I'll say, and I hear this and it frustrates me a little bit because all of my career, they said this, I'm a baby boomer, they said that the world would come to an end when we were in charge.
Right.
Well, it didn't come to an end because we were in charge. And it won't come to an end because the youngsters that are coming into the industry today will be in charge. And to be quite honest with you, my management team, and it's a 40-something on average team now, they're so much smarter than I am, and they're so much more connected, and they can find answers so much quicker than I can.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that one bit. I'm not worried about NOV. I'm not worried about this industry, and I'm not worried about the world in general because smarter folks are growing up, and they should be young and do silly things, and then they mature, and then they become the leaders. And so that's happening every day, and all the right folks will be here doing all the right things better than we have.
I like it. Well, Mark, I could keep talking to you forever, but I think that's a pretty good soundbite to end on. So thank you for the conversation. I really enjoyed it.
No, I enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Yes, and thank you everyone who's tuned in and listened, and thank you to our fabulous production team, as always, who makes this show possible for you every week when we're on air. Enjoy the rest of your day.